BigBear.ai is taking part in a massive multinational military exercise aimed at testing and improving advanced technologies. This project is called Capstone 5, which is a multinational defense experiment involving forces from 7 countries globally. BigBear.ai joined forces with Australia, Canada, France, Japan, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and all branches of the United States military. This is huge, not just from a publicity standpoint, but also in terms of validation. They're not just selling software anymore, they're now becoming embedded in international military infrastructure. That's a really sticky business, and oftentimes it comes with multi-year contracts and global exposure. So the president of national security at BigBear.ai mentioned that BigBear.ai is now proud that Vane continues to demonstrate operational value in real-world exercises and experiments like Project Capstone 5, involving forces from multiple nations. And to be honest, this is what's really got me bullish on BigBear.ai. They're now not just chasing domestic AI defense contracts, they're positioning as a core player across allied military alliances worldwide, and that is putting them in a completely different tier compared to many small cap defense tech names. So where we're now seeing BigBear.ai get contract after contract, both domestically but also internationally, I think that's a big sign from the market on what's to come and the value that BigBear.ai is providing to multiple different customers. And the stock currently is making huge moves, I think, in terms of price, also recently because of the moves that Palantir is making. So we can see Palantir rising to all-time highs, and then defense stocks that are comparable to it but much smaller, such as BigBear.ai, then get a move from that as well. Now we also had a second piece of news, which is that BigBear.ai will report its second quarter 2025 results on August 11th in 2025. And personally, I'm not placing too much weight on quarterly earnings, as I tend to have a very long-term outlook for any certain stock. And I know that traders clearly get excited when quarterly earnings are coming up, and it makes a lot of sense because sometimes the expectations are really high, and if the stock overperforms or made some recent bullish announcements, just like BigBear did, there might be some room for a larger move, right? With BigBear specifically, I do believe that the recent run-up in price suggests that earnings enthusiasm is already baked in to some extent into the stock price, and that creates more of a risk of a pullback, right? So if they miss expectations or guide softly for the rest of the year or next year, there could be a bigger drop. I already mentioned that in my previous videos, but I just want to make everybody aware of the big volatility that this stock is having. You know, the stock rose 40% last week. It can also drop 40% next week. Nobody knows. It's very hard to predict. I do think there is more of a baseline coming. With that being said, I'm not bullish or bearish on the upcoming earnings. I'm just saying don't be shocked if the stock sells off short term. It doesn't change the long-term trajectory, especially with the global defense angle, which is now in play for BigBear, which I am now bullish on. Now let's go a little bit deeper into the price action, because what's happening on the chart right now is very telling. BigBear.ai traded at around $6 just a week ago. Over the course of 5 trading days, it ripped all the way up to $8.50, which is about a 40% gain in under a week. It's not just a strong move, I think it is hinting at a breakout rally also in terms of volume. If you check TradingView, the stock typically traded between 1 to 3 million shares per day throughout the year. During this run, we saw multiple sessions of over 8 million shares a day, with certain days peaking above 10 million in volume. That's more of a sign of accumulation, and it isn't a low volume retail move, for example. So I think that institutions are at play here as well. And technically speaking, BigBear is currently trading above all significant WMAs, so the weighted moving averages, which are both on the daily and weekly time frame. it is trending very nicely above that, and we can also see pops of resistance now becoming support on the weekly EMAs. So this is more telling us that this isn't just a bounce, it could be the potential start of a new uptrend. It's not confirmed yet, but the technical setup is forming. Me personally, I'm not much of a technical trader. I also base it more on fundamentals and just if the stock is priced cheaply in terms of forward earnings. But I do take into account with these types of stocks where I didn't take an entry yet, where I'm looking at support levels, resistance levels, because it can give you a much better entry, right? We did see, for example, that support is now building around the $6 to $6.50 level, which could be a consolidation zone from late June. If the stock pulls back after earnings or a macro weakness, that could be a zone where you could scale in if you're bullish long term. And in terms of resistance, I would be looking at the level where we saw the stock price resist a little bit last week, which was around $8.70. There was also a previous all-time high just a little above $10, so that would be the resistance levels looking up. If we do get a breakout, I do think we will run up to like $10 at least, maybe $11 before we see kind of a little pullback again. So those would be the levels to watch in the coming weeks, especially with Q2 earnings coming up. And we will probably revisit this in a future video. Now, one of the key questions to ask is this move sustainable? The volume spike does suggest that institutional eyes are on the stock, or at least algorithms are reacting to the headlines and also some momentum. But we've also seen similar pops in BigBear.ai before in January, April, and some other months, only to fade when news didn't lead to revenue or contracts. So I would play it in terms of the resistance and support levels. Have a look out for those. Also be aware of the Q2 earnings coming up. If they miss or beat it, it will have a giant reaction on the stock for sure. So don't just blindly chase those moves. If you want to be more safe, just wait a little bit for a pullback and then you can step in and scale in terms of DCAing over a longer period of time to get a position in this stock. To get a better read on current investor sentiment, I looked at Fintel's latest data, which shows the put to call ratio for BigBear.ai, which is currently sitting at around 0.38. Anything below 1 indicates a bullish sentiment. If it was greater than 1, it indicates a bearish sentiment. So this is a metric that I look at when I want to know if investor sentiment in general is bullish or bearish. As you can see from the stock price, mostly you already know that, but this is more of a confirmation metric that I like to look at. This means, simply said, that for every 100 call options, there are only 38 puts which are being bought, which is then bullish and indicates bullish sentiment. It suggests that traders are positioning heavily for upside and they are not just hedging. Also, short interest remains high, which adds some fuel to these violent upswings. When a stock like this moves 40% in a week and there is a low put to call ratio, it is telling the market that it's still in a kind of speculating aggressively phase, but not yet overly euphoric. So while we've definitely seen FOMO kick in, it doesn't feel like we're at a blow off top territory yet. It's also a little bit fueled by fundamentals and financials. So where can BigBear.ai realistically go from here? If the global defense partnership leads to confirmed contracts or either revenue growth in Q3 or Q4, we could see institutional buying accelerate. That is probably what it will take to justify a sustained move above $10 and beyond, which is definitely possible. But remember, this is still a speculative AI defense stock, I would even say highly speculative, with some customer concentration and volatile financials. So even though I would be bullish on the stock long term in terms of fundamentals and the project and the contracts that it's gaining right now, I'm also kind of not trying to overexpose any portfolio I have right now into these types of plays.